Hey, welcome everyone. I am so excited about today's topic. We're going to be discussing content repurposing masterclass, turn one idea into 10 marketing assets. My name is Natalie Slyman. I'm the content marketing manager at Benchmark Email. And content is sort of my life. Repurposing content is one of my favorite marketing hacks. And so we're going to kind of dive into working smarter, not harder today. Before we get into it, though, I want to go over some housekeeping items. So, if you have to hop off a little early, no worries. We will be sending the recording and the slides after the webinar. Excuse me. And if you are looking for additional resources, our blog is full of content that is about content, very meta. And also, we do have quite a few blog posts on repurposing content and just sort of the basics of content marketing, which I know by now you may think, oh, we should all know what content marketing is. But truly, in the world of marketing, everything evolves very quickly and constantly. So the idea of content and what makes it valuable is always changing. So feel free to peruse our blog if you ever need any resources in that area as well. Okay, so let's dive right in. I've got my coffee. Hope you all are ready. Okay, so let's kind of go over the agenda here and just talk about what we're going to touch on today. So first things first, why content repurposing is essential for modern marketers, the life cycle of a single content idea, step-by-step content mapping. So we'll kind of walk you through how to map out, how to repurpose your content, and some tools and workflows to streamline the process for you. If you have any questions along the way, please feel free to add your questions into the question section of the toolbar, and I'll reserve some time, after the webinar to get to those. And if, for some reason you get a question later on and you're not sure, how to get it answered, you can just respond to the emails we're sending you and we will point you in the right direction. Okay, so content repurposing is essential. So there is sort of this common problem that most marketers face, and that problem is constant content pressure. So, marketers are under pressure to be everywhere, to be in the email, to be on blogs, social, video, webinars, and, to create content for each of those channels. But creating net new content every time just isn't scalable. And it's honestly not possible, especially if you're a team of one or you have a very small team. Repurposing content helps you stay visible without burning out. The shift we're now seeing is from one and done blog posts or campaigns to full content ecosystems. So one piece of content, say a webinar or blog post, can fuel your entire content calendar. So it's about strategy. It's not about production. So this one and done, idea of like, oh, let's talk about this on the blog and then let's move on to the next idea. That's really kind of a stale and dated approach to content. Now it's all about sort of exhausting that idea on many different channels, because the truth is people like to consume content in various different ways. Okay. So let's talk about the life cycle of a single content idea. Here's a quick visual of how one idea can turn into at least 10 pieces of content. So imagine creating a comprehensive blog post and then slicing it into shorter social captions, visuals, or even a video script. This is content efficiency at its best. So let's take like a closer look at how to take one idea and turn it into 10. Okay. So you can start by, this isn't how you have to start, but I personally like to start with blog posts just because those are my, favorite form of content. So you can start by creating a thorough blog post and have it be like your main piece of content where you explore the topic in depth. So it can serve as the foundation for everything else. So, when you're writing this blog post, you want to make sure it's SEO friendly. And you really cover like each tip with examples and stats. this will sort of serve as the cornerstone asset from which all the rest of your content will be derived from. Okay. Next, you can repurpose that blog post into an email series. So each email focuses on a single tip, making it digestible and keeping your audience engaged over several days. So you can take that blog post and say you have 3 actionable steps within that blog post that you're recommending people take. You can take each step and make your own email from that step. And then you can bundle these emails into a campaign. And with your email automation software, such as Benchmark Email, you can kind of set it so that it sends these emails out in 5-day email sequences, or whatever email sequence you prefer. So you're not inundating people with these ideas, but it's sort of like a slow engagement process. Okay. So from the blog, you can pull key points and stats to design bite-sized social posts. Carousels work great for step-by-step tips, while reels bring energy and reach a broader audience. So a social media Instagram carousel and reel series could be 5 quick email open rate hacks. So each tip could be like for a carousel, each tip can be its own slide. And then a short reel can demonstrate 1 or 2 tips in action. And then you can turn your blog topic into a live event. We've done that so many times. And honestly, it's such an easy way to figure out what you want to cover in a webinar, because if you have a blog post on the topic, you already have your outline. So this allows, more interaction and detailed examples, and builds authority on the subject. So when you're able to offer a live event, you're not only able to kind of extend your authority on the subject because you're, able to speak in more depth, but you're also putting a face and a voice to your brand. I mean, I don't know how many of you before really didn't talk to anyone at Benchmark Email, but I am proof that we are real people and we work here and we're here to help you. And that's kind of how we communicate. That's what we want to communicate in our webinars. And then lastly, on this page, package your content into a resource that your audience can save and reference anytime. This is great for lead generation and nurturing. So you could do like a white paper or a guide, the ultimate email open rate improvement playbook. That's just a title. Honestly, these titles and these angles are all applicable to what Benchmark Email specializes in. Obviously, you would want to change those to whatever service or product offering or area of expertise you are in, so that you can speak to that with authority and apply to your audience give your audience what they need. So how this white paper or guide would manifest is, you can turn this blog post into something that's maybe a little bit more in depth, a little bit lengthier, and change it into a downloadable PDF or guide with additional resources and templates included. So basically, if you're going to entice people to download something, you want to make it worth their while. If they're going to give you their name, their email address, you want to make sure you're giving them access to information that is valuable, so that they feel comfortable giving you their information. And that's how you would generate leads. Okay, so here are some other ideas. Infographics visually communicate data and make your points more shareable, which are perfect for social media and presentations. So you can take this idea, turn it into an infographic, and highlight those key data points and statistics from the blog posts that illustrate the impact of these tips. With infographics, it's all about illustration and showing, not telling. And then there's including it in your newsletter, which is really important. So we do this with our newsletter. We always include our blog content and link to it. But something that we've been testing out as well is taking like a theme and an idea that is present on the blog and making that our newsletter theme as well. So it's kind of a way of repurposing in a sense. So you can repurpose your blog content into your newsletter to keep your existing audience informed, so the people who are already signed up for your emails. And then you can drive traffic back to your site this way. So there are people that are probably subscribed to your emails that maybe aren't visiting your site as often as you'd like them to. So if you're including blog content, or if you're linking to existing content because it's repurposed or it's similar to what you're focusing on in your newsletter. That just allows people to go back to your website and kind of explore further. And then short videos are perfect for quick consumption and wide reach on platforms like YouTube and Instagram Reels. So you can kind of create a YouTube short, which is something we've been actually testing out with our webinars. We're going to be doing that moving forward just because we've found that short videos are extremely engaging. People prefer short videos to long videos. I mean, I kind of joke about it. Our attention spans are shortening a little bit. I mean, it's obvious that there's just more media, especially with social media being pushed into, our faces. So if we're going to engage with something, it's going to have to kind of be concise and to the point. So it is a very good idea to turn your content into short videos. Okay. And if you host a podcast or if you're thinking about it, you can absolutely use these ideas to translate into podcast content. So audio snippets can extend your reach to audiences who prefer podcasts, giving your content a new format in life. I know a lot of people out there love listening to podcasts. And, if you think your audience is part of those groups of people, then you definitely should look into, using content to repurpose for podcast content. And then also you can create slide decks with your content as well. So, they're versatile tools. They're great for webinars, workshops, or downloadable resources to educate and persuade your audience. So if you do trade shows or if you just do conferences in general, I actually used to do a lot of this at my last position. And you could take your existing content and use it to create those slide decks. And, you can also make these downloadable too. So that's kind of something, to think about when you're repurposing your content. Okay, so let's talk about the content repurposing framework. This slide is like really kind of breaking down the thought process behind it. You want to start with a cornerstone asset, as we mentioned. So start with something substantial. This is your deep dive content, rich with value, insights, and examples. Think of it as the tree trunk from which all of the other branches, which are the repurposed content, will grow from. It should be strong enough to support a variety of formats. And then the next one is identify key takeaways or themes. So now you'll want to dissect that cornerstone. So what are the major talking points? What's repeatable, quotable, and visually engaging? If it were a blog post with 5 tips, those 5 tips could each become their own social post or video. This step is about, really spotting those opportunities. And then you want to make sure you match the formats to the right channels. So align your message with the medium. Each platform has its own style. So short videos thrive on TikTok and YouTube shorts, while thought leadership does well on LinkedIn. This is where strategic thinking comes in. So one theme, think of it as like one theme, but many ways to say it. So yeah, it's really important that you understand the overall purpose of each social platform or each platform that you're using, and you adjust your content accordingly to that platform. Okay, and then you want to look into creating supporting content. So here is where the magic happens. With your themes and formats decided, you're ready to create. So tools like AI writing assistants, design templates, and automation workflows make this faster than ever, especially when your foundation is already strong. So we absolutely love using AI writing assistants. A lot of people were always very frightful of AI and is it going to take our jobs and all of that. We have so much content about why using AI is important, but the human touch will never go away. It's always going to be necessary. So we definitely think knowing what kind of tools you need to help you create that supporting content is essential. So yes, AI tools and, design templates. We utilize Canva for a lot of, social design stuff. You can utilize benchmark emails, email marketing templates. We have tons of email marketing templates that kind of do the heavy lifting for you so that you don't have to be a designer to create eye-catching, beautiful, well-designed emails. And then, it's just automation obviously is your friend as well. It'll help sort of make sure that those routine tasks are completed so that you can kind of focus on other things. So it's, again, working smarter, not harder. And then this last step, schedule and distribute. So this is finally when you kind of like map it all out. You don't need to post everything in 1 week. I don't really recommend doing that. I think that could be a lot at once, and you kind of want to do like a slow tease. Let your content breathe and work for you over time. So distribution is where, all this repurposing pays off. I've always said content isn't done once you've created it and finished it. Distribution is sort of like that last step. It's getting it out there. It's meeting people where they're engaged. So, and a great way to ensure you're using this content smart and, distributing it in a smart way is keep, have it fuel your calendar for weeks, even months. Don't, push this all out in 1 week because you think you have to. This can be kind of a very slow share. Okay, so I want to get into some tools and workflows that will help you sort of streamline these processes. These tools will help you plan, design, and distribute repurposed content. So obviously, Benchmark Email makes it easy to send your repurposed blog snippets or content series. But tools like Canva and Descript will help with visual and video. So I'm going to kind of go over a few of these here. Content mapping, you absolutely could do this on your own, but if you're looking for tools that will help you organize your content and figure out where it each needs to go, I've listed a few here: Notion, Trello, Airtable. And then again, design and branding. Like I mentioned earlier, we use Canva a lot. We actually have a blog post on how to use Canva to design emails, and you can use those emails in Benchmark Email. And then there's also Adobe Express. I like Canva personally because there's just so much you can do with it. There's a free version and it's very easy to use. It also kind of makes you feel really, you get to flex your design skills a little bit. And I did not go to design school. So it's able to make a non-designer look like a designer. And then email and distribution. Like I mentioned, Benchmark Email, obviously we would want to plug ourselves in this equation because we do believe in our tool's ability to effectively share and send out email content that includes your blog content, your repurposed content. That's definitely part of the distribution channel that you want to flex. You want to use your email marketing because, again, these are people that have signed up to receive your email, so they want to hear from you. They want to know what content you're creating, so it's important that you share that with them on that channel. But then there's also Buffer and Hootsuite that will help you schedule out your social content. Social content is very important. That is where a lot of people, and even now, get their news. And people are starting to kind of go to social over websites to learn more about brands. So it's important that you have social content shared there. So you can use those two tools to ensure you're sharing your content out. And then for video and audio, there's Descript, CapCut, Loom. I've actually used, we use Wistia too to like share some content. But these are tools that will help you sort of edit and refine your videos. Again, you don't need to be like a professional video editor in order to do this. There's tools out here that can help you. And then for writing ideation, ChatGPT, Grammarly, and Jasper. I personally use ChatGPT and Grammarly every day. I love ChatGPT because it does do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. I always recommend reviewing the content that it gives you because it's not perfect the way it is. You will have to adjust and edit, and obviously your prompts will have to be very, those are important too, because your output is only going to be as good as your prompt is. So make sure you are specific in your prompts, include what kind of tone you want. Even if you have articles of inspiration, like share that with ChatGPT. And then also make sure you're using a tool like Grammarly or Jasper to go over the content. What I love about Grammarly is that it makes suggestions, so I can very easily accept all of those, and it will, elevate the quality of the content. But It also does a plagiarism check for me, which is crucial when you're using ChatGPT and AI tools to write your content, because the truth is those tools pull content from what's already existing online. And while they do try to kind of adjust the way they talk about it, you can still be flagged for plagiarism if they aren't doing a good enough job of adjusting. So what I like about Grammarly is that it points out exactly what the plagiarism percentage is, and then it tells me what has been plagiarized, so I can go in, adjust, and make sure that it removes that plagiarism. Okay, now we're going to discuss some common pitfalls to avoid. So, a quick word of caution: repurposing doesn't mean copying and pasting. Make sure your content is tailored for each platform. Avoid saturation by staggering repurposed content, and always track performance to see what's worth repeating or revisiting. So these are some common pitfalls people typically make. So yeah, repurposing without adapting for the platform. That's a big no-no. You need to understand that people want to engage with your content in different ways. So cater your content to the platform you're sharing it out on. And then overusing the same content too quickly. If people are seeing that you are posting the same exact content all the time and you're not doing a good enough job of like repurposing it and making it a little bit different, they're going to think you're a one-trick pony and they're going to get bored. So just make sure you don't do that. And then failing to measure what performs best. We don't want you just to send this out there and hope for the best and, just move on to the next thing. You really do need to look at your results and see how people are engaging with your content to see if it's really registering with them. Because some content ideas that you repurpose may not get a ton of engagement. And so that means that, in the future, you just shouldn't waste your time on that area. And then another mistake, not updating older assets. So this is really important, especially if you want your content to continue to rank. You may have a valuable resource that you created like 5 years ago and you're still using it, and that's great. However, as I mentioned earlier, things in every industry really, but especially marketing, change so rapidly. So it's really crucial that you're going back and looking at that content and making sure there's nothing stale or dated that needs to be adjusted. And if there is, make sure you adjust it, because you don't want to be giving people old advice that just sort of doesn't really do a great job of showing you, showcasing you as an expert. And then, it's going to be a way that people might eventually lose trust with you over time. Okay, so we want you to be able to take some of these ideas and hit the ground running with them. So this is sort of a quick start plan of what you can do this week. So start by picking one existing asset that you have, something that already exists, and create 3 new pieces of content from it. For example, you could do a blog post, a webinar, or a social post. Or there's email content. Just pick something that you think could be a great cornerstone piece and start thinking of 3 other pieces of content that can come from it. And then obviously create those 3 new pieces of content. Then schedule them and use automation like benchmark email to help you deliver with consistency. This is just a way to make sure it's simple, manageable, and scalable. So these are some easy steps you could do this week. I know it's probably a short week for most of us, so maybe it's next week. That's fine too. But really want to make sure you're not just taking these ideas and thinking, great, okay, wonderful, and not doing anything with them. We want to make sure that you can take these ideas into action. Okay. That concludes our webinar. And so I want to open up for, any questions that we might have. I don't think we have any, which is crazy, but I know we did cover a lot of stuff. So I do appreciate everybody, listening in and joining us today. And like I said, I know there's a lot of details and information on each of these slides. So we're going to go ahead and send you the slide deck along with the recording so that you can have what you need written down already for you, so you can kind of hit the ground running. But once I send you that email, if you do have any questions for me whatsoever, I'm happy to help. Like I said, content is, my forte. So please feel free to respond to that email asking me anything that you might need help with, or even if you're wondering if we have certain blog content on a topic, I'm happy to point you in the right direction. So thanks everybody for, joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you felt like it was beneficial and that you learned a lot. And, I look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Thanks so much.